This is the hard truth that I learned about hacking Google Images. I'm specifically talking about having as many images as your brand show up on Google Images for your brand name. Sometimes there are multiple brands that have your brand name. This also applies to just showing up on Google Images for various keywords that don't even have your brand in it, but this heightens discovery. You're an organic makeup brand and you want to show up on Google Images when people search for keywords around organic makeup. It increases your visibility. Or just showing up for your brand name, that increases credibility and legitimacy. And you can control the narrative. Maybe you want to put in the images into Google Images that come up when people search your brand name. You want to control that narrative. Maybe there's images of you that you don't like that are showing, and you want other images to show instead. Or you want a consistent appearance on Google Images. Or again, you just want more visibility from Google Images. So I tried to hack Google Images. I had this crazy theory, and it kind of worked, but I learned something really important about how Google Images work. And that's what you're going to take away from this episode of The Edward Show. You actually can brute force your images into Google Images, but it wasn't in the way that I thought. It kind of works. And I think it's what I'm about to describe will be part of a good Google Images SEO strategy. But ultimately, there's one thing that Google really, really likes. But before I tell you that, this is what I tried to do. There are several people, creators, who have the name Edward Sturm. I'm the most popular one, but there's other popular ones. I wanted to be the one that shows up the most by far and at the top of Google Images. So I created on edwardsturm.com on my website a photos page. And if you've listened to this show before, you've heard me talk about it. I put in hundreds of photos of me with good alt text, good file names, relevant alt text. Edward Sturm shaking hands with Michael Bloomberg. Edward Sturm meeting the editor-in-chief of Forbes, Steve Forbes, at the Forbes Iconoclast Summit in 2024 in New York City. Edward Sturm eating pizza in Italy. Photos like this, just tons of photos like this. Edward Sturm working at ONEOK. And I used to work at ONEOK, for those who don't know. ONEOK was a very popular nightclub. Edward Sturm doing all these different things in all these different places with all these people. So I created this photos page. It's on my website in my footer, edwardsturm.com/photos. Page title is Edward Sturm Photos. Meta description, everything is perfect and relevant. So did this work to get more images of me on Google Images? And did this work to have these images show up first? Did this work for me to control the narrative when people search my brand name, my name on Google Images? And it kind of worked. I was able to more control the narrative. I got dozens of these photos into Google Images. In fact, the images page for my name, Edward Sturm, is made up of 30% of photos from this photos page. And that's incredible. 30% of the photos on Edward Sturm Google Images comes from this photos page. But the thing that it didn't work at is having these photos come first. When you search Edward Sturm, there's still a variety of Edward Sturms. And even throughout the Google Images page, the Google Images search page for my name, there's also a variety. The reason for that, the hard truth that I learned, that the thing that Google really likes above all else is it likes a variety of sources. And the way that I had tried to hack it was with one source, one page on my website. Now, these images, they rank for lots of other keywords, and that's cool. So I am actually increasing my visibility and discoverability through this. It's also a good engagement mechanism. Lots of people go to my website, people look at the footer, they come across this photos page. A lot of them think it's cool. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. It's also a page that journalists can use to get different photos of me. But let's be real, a lot of journalists are just going to go to Google Images. So I want to show up first in Google Images with the photos that I like. And what I discovered is Google likes a variety of sources for Google Images. So here's the new way to hack Google Images. The hard truth is that Google likes variety. So what does this mean? This means you have to submit your brand. If it's your brand is yourself, then it's yourself. But whatever your brand is, you have to submit it to directories using your brand name and different language around the brand and the niche and what the brand does. And then what you do, because Google likes variety, and it's not going to show the same image in Google Images is when you submit to different directories, you use a different image for each directory. This is also why if you do a lot of podcasts like I do, because I go on other people's podcasts, Google shows different podcast thumbnails with me in the thumbnails. If every podcast I went on used the same thumbnail, Google wouldn't show that. It doesn't want the same image. It wants a variety of sources and a variety of images. And so what you need to do is you need to get your brand in a variety of places. You could do YouTube thumbnails rank very well on Google Images. So you could go on podcasts or a variety of directories using a variety of images. And directories also could mean social media. It could mean Instagram. It could mean Facebook pages. It could mean X. It could mean Medium. There are so many. Oh my gosh. There was really so many different places, so many different social media platforms and directories that you can submit your brand to. And you use different, what everyone does, everyone uses the same image. But what you have to do is you have to use a variety of images. So it's a variety of platforms with a variety of images. And that's the hard truth, that the photos page, while it worked to get more images of me, of my brand in Google Images, these images were not prioritized because they came from one source. It was good that I had a variety of images, and it's cool that I did control the narrative somewhat, and I got so many images of me, so many more images of me controlling the narrative on the Google Images page for my name, but they weren't showing up first because Google likes variety. So the hard truth, variety of sources, a variety of images, and if you do that, then you are going to control your Google Images page for your brand name so much better. And what you do when you submit to these directories, again, you use a variety of different language, not just a variety of images, it's also different language to hit your brand from lots of different angles. So there's so many different ways. If you're a construction brand, there's so many different ways that you can describe what you do using different keywords related to construction. And this will also increase your visibility with Google Images. This is actually something that I need to do, because if you look at, you probably have Googled Edward Sturm at this point on Google Images to see what comes up, and you'll see all these images of me. Because I haven't done this, is because I haven't submitted to all these directories. The images of me that work really well are lots of thumbnails from when I hacked podcasts, and I went on 30 podcasts in 3 months using AIPodcastMatcher.com. And these podcast thumbnails with me in them, they rank well. So now I just need to find directories around marketing people or create more social media accounts with my name, and those will rank on Google Images. So that is how you brute force images of yourself on Google Images. Use a variety of sources and a variety of images. Don't use the same image across platforms like everybody does. Everybody uses the same image for consistency. Don't do that. Use different images, and then you'll show up on Google Images a lot more. And that is all for episode 601 of my daily digital marketing podcast. 601 episodes in a row. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched on YouTube, thank you so much for listening. If you listened on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.